I've been working full time. Oh, I've been grinding full time. I've been running full time. Full time. Full time. I've been chasing music full time. Been disappointed full time. But I kept it going full time. Full time. Full time. Yeah.
Welcome back to another episode of The Strategy is Her with Satara Brown, where I'm showing you the unfiltered realities of betting on yourself. Before we get started with this episode, I almost didn't make it today. And I think it's important to make note about our mental health, our wellness. I've been suffering with anemia for the past 21 years. And it's really been taking a toll on me. For the last 7 weeks, I've had a nonstop headache. My iron has been super low. I've been in and out the doctor's office getting iron infusions. So that almost held me back today, but I'm here and I'm ready to get into this week's episode. So I think that we should start from the beginning. 10 years ago, 2015, I was 23 years old, and I was actually living in Albany, New York, where I went to college. And I had a state job. I was working for the government. I was fresh, 23. I was like one of maybe 2 black people at this agency. And I was living good. I had the car that I wanted. I had the apartment that I wanted. I had a pool. I had a tennis court, a basketball court. Everything was good. But something was missing. I wanted to give back to the community where I was from. So I am from a small town called Poughkeepsie, but I'm actually from the town. So I'm from the town of Poughkeepsie and not the city of Poughkeepsie. But growing up, I always did all my extracurricular activities in the city of Poughkeepsie. So I played basketball, soccer. I went to camp in the city of Poughkeepsie because my parents are from New York City and they always wanted me to have a balance. So I went to camp in the city of Poughkeepsie and I absolutely hated it. I went to camp and we had to do homework during summer and I thought it was the dumbest thing in the world. Fast forward, I ended up graduating high school 6 months early because I had to go to summer school for the first time for some type of math class in 11th grade. And through that experience, I found out that someone else was graduating early. So I'm like, oh my God, I want to graduate early too. So instead of having 2 a semester for my 12th grade year, I had 4 classes and I got out of school at 10:45 a.m. and then I graduated in January instead of graduating in June. So fast forward, I went on to community college and then I transferred to Albany where I ended up graduating a year early. So I was younger than my graduating class. And just to bring everything full circle, when I was working out in Albany after I graduated, I was like, I want to give back to my hometown. So I decided to do a back to school event. I had some extra money and so did my family members and my friends. And we just bought school supplies. We went to the river and we just gave out school supplies. We gave out school supplies to 50 kids and everyone's like, what's your name? What's your name? And I'm like, I don't know, we're just doing this. So after talks with my friends, we came up with the name Rebuilding Our Children and Community, and things kind of just went from there. To backtrack a little bit, I was in a beauty pageant when I was 18, and I guess in my speech I said that me and my sister wanted to start a nonprofit, which I don't remember, but if I said it, I'm sure it was true. So I guess this was always a dream of mine to give back. My mom was a super mom. So growing up, there was always a bunch of kids in our house. Our friends were always over. We had 4 cousins who were really close to us, and they were over every weekend from the city. And my mom was always taking us places. We always had sleepovers. So my mom was such a giver. So when I started my nonprofit, I just wanted to give like my mom, because like my mom, she was amazing. So we started with the back to school event, And then it just grew from there. Like, we did different workshops for like resume and career building. And then the people from the school district started reaching out to partner with us. So we did like prom dress drives. And then 3 years later, I came up with this grand idea, like, I want to start a summer camp. And that relates back to the story that I said about the experience I had at summer camp and how it was so important that Miss Johnson, who ran the summer camp for us, made sure that we did not lose any learning during the summer. And that's how I got ahead in life. So at the time, I actually got asked to work as the marketing director for a law firm. And they hired me because of the work that I did with my nonprofit. And at that time, like, I didn't think that I was doing marketing. I was just posting on Facebook what I was doing. And I was like literally walking around Poughkeepsie and hanging out flyers. But they saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And my background is in criminal justice, so I had no idea about marketing, but I was absolutely marketing. And so I was working at the law firm, and I would get paid every week. And I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this camp. We had zero funding. This is back in 2018. But I'm like, the kids need somewhere to go. And, like, I know how important it is, like, to have something to do during the summer. So every week I would get paid, and I would use my paycheck to pay my staff. I had no idea what I was doing. Like, no one told me what to do. I did some research on my own. I contacted, like, the health department. I contacted, I think, like the child care council, and I just looked to see what other camps were doing. So I was like, okay, we got the Boys and Girls Club, we got one other organization, and this is like when nonprofits weren't a thing. Like, I started my nonprofit like way before people were thinking about starting nonprofits, or it was like the cool thing to do. So I really I didn't really have much to follow. So I'm like, okay, this camp is Monday through Thursday, but what about Fridays? Like, parents need to go to work on Fridays, and this camp is from 8 to 3, but a lot of people work 9 to 5, or they work different hours. So we offered a program from Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. It was totally free, and instead of it being 5 weeks like all the other programs, ours was 7 weeks. So I was like, this is how we are going to be different than these other programs. We offered Spanish lessons. We did a whole bunch of different things. But our first year, our parents had to pay. And they had to pay $100 a week, which essentially was $700 for the summer. And that's a lot to ask of families, especially families that have multiple kids, but we had to make our payroll. So I would work at the law firm all day long, and then I had my staff, and it was a total disaster. Like, behind the scenes, it was so messy, but the kids had an amazing time. And the parents trusted us. The only bad thing about that summer was that we relied on the free lunch from school, and it was disgusting. It was so bad to the point where the parents, they were like bringing in pizza and just like meals for the kids, because it's like, we can't eat this sandwich that's supposed to be cold, then it's hot sometimes, it's melted. Like, it was just way too much. That year was my first year of doing programming, and someone reported us and said that we were doing an illegal camp. And I was like devastated. I was like crying. But it really didn't faze us, because we weren't running an illegal camp. We actually weren't running an official certified camp. We were running a program, and we were cleared with the health department and with the child care council. But I think that was like my first introduction to the game. Like, oh, you could be doing good things, but everyone doesn't want good for you. And I can suspect who it was, but it will never be confirmed. But I think it was someone else who ran an organization at the time who could have took me under their wing, who could have mentored me, but they called the health department on us. So that was like my first experience. And then the school district asked us to do an after-school program, and I was like, absolutely not. Like, 7 weeks in the summer, it was too crazy. I like almost ripped my hair out. We had no funding, and we just had to make things work. We ended up getting a grant after the program was done for $4,000, which covered a portion of it, which I was able to recoup that money because I was literally like funding the camp myself. And then a few months later, one of our parents from summer camp called me and was like, hey, school started and my kid is failing. Like, this never happened before and I don't know how to help my kid. And I was like, don't worry, we're going to start an after school program. And like 2 months later, we started an after school program. But when we started the after school program, I thought I was starting one after school program and I ended up starting 4. And we were totally under budget. This was our first time like receiving a grant from the school district, and I didn't know that the grants were reimbursable. So we got awarded $70,000, but we had to front all of that money and then wait to get reimbursed. And that in itself is just like, if you're trying to be sustainable, it's not a good business model. So we trucked through with that. And we were in 4 different schools. At this time, I'm like no longer working at the law firm. I'm helping out a judge at a local court. So I'm working during the day until I think about 4 o'clock. And after school program started at 2:30. And I'm in 4 different schools. And so I need supervisors in every school. I need staff in every school. We need programming, like actual things for the kids to do. We have to track the metrics. It's a lot. It's very intuitive. So after work, I would try to stop by all 4 schools in 30 minutes because the program was over at 4:30. And I would try to do as much oversight as possible. So one day I met with one of the principals and I was like, so how are we doing? And she was a woman of color and she's like, do you want the honest answer? She's like, I was like, yeah. I'm thinking like, she's going to like say something great. She's like, you are running a state-of-the-art babysitting program. I was like, oh. In that moment, I knew that, like, this wasn't going to work. And, like, I already knew that it was something, I guess, like, too big for me to chew off if I wasn't going to be present. And I've always had aspirations of going to law school, being an attorney, and it was never starting a nonprofit. It was just something that, like, I guess it fell into my lap. Like, I grew into it. So I called my mom, and I told her what the principal said. And she's like, we ain't going out like that. So my mom started volunteering to be the supervisor of all of the after school programs, and she got it straight. She got it together. At the time, I didn't know that I could pay my mom because I'm like, she's my mom. And the guy who was in charge of administering the grant, he's like, she's doing this for free? And I'm like, yeah. Excuse me. And so then I started paying my mom, and things went really, really well. But then COVID hit. We were like in our groove. We were the best after school program. All the kids wanted to be in our program. The parents loved us. But then COVID hit. And we had to pivot a little bit. Through those times, we continued with after our summer camps. So we started partnering with the school district. And while all this is going on, I'm still working my full-time job, but I'm making a name for myself. And I did it with a $0 marketing budget. So I was just posting on the internet. I'm from the area, so I knew a lot of people. And that's what really started my consulting business, which organically started as well too. So I started hosting classes to teach other people how to start a nonprofit and how to receive funding, because within a short period of time, I raised, well, I wouldn't say I raised because I secured $500,000. And to be able to do that on, I guess, a part-time basis while I'm working full-time, sometimes I had a full-time job and a part-time job. It was really remarkable, but I don't think a lot of people knows what came with that. So like at one point, I don't know, I guess I survived cancel culture, because like 3 years into that, like people started saying I was stealing money, and people didn't understand how I was securing all this funding, but they didn't see any of the behind the scenes. Like, I was staying up all night. I think I slept for like 2 hours a night consecutively for like 3 years. But that's because I was working my full-time job so I can fund my nonprofit. I had to front all of this money that I was receiving. And then, like, for people to say that I was stealing money, it just shows how the game goes. Like, when you're up, you're up. But, like, people, they won't hesitate to try to knock you down. And how I, quote unquote, survived the cancel culture, I just didn't feed into it. I mean, I gave a lot of people jobs here in this county, in Poughkeepsie. I put a lot of money in people's pockets. I've partnered with people and their businesses, and I paid them. And these are the same exact people who were on the internet bashing me. And I said nothing at all. Like, this is the first time I'm ever even publicly saying anything. And it didn't work. You know, they tried to cancel me, and I just kept doing what I do. And it's funny because a lot of the same people are circling back now. Like, hey, I see you're doing yoga in the park. Hey, you know, I think they thought that I was going to fall off. But when you stay true to what you're about, it doesn't matter what people are saying. I mean, I had grown people in government positions talking about me and my organization when they don't know that at times my parents were putting up their mortgage money to make sure that my staff got paid, because it was that real about the school district owing us $50,000, $40,000, and I could only put up so much money. You know, I'm like putting up all my paychecks. So I survived the cancel culture, and I just stayed in my lane. And I think for me, I've always been successful because I always stayed in my lane. I don't care what anyone else is doing. I don't care how much money anyone has. I don't care what is going on, what's trending. I just always just like do me, and I stay in my purpose. And I think that, well, I know that like being authentic will get you farther than chasing a fad or just doing things for any kind of reason. I started my nonprofit because I truly wanted to give to people. But I also see, one, how I was thrown to the side. My mom's like, you want me to get on that meeting? I'm like, no, we're not going to say nothing to anyone. We're just going to let people talk. But I kind of got low for a minute. So I did a bad business deal with a company who portrayed themselves to be something that they weren't. I opened an art center, and I put a lot of money up, and things just went left, and I had to separate myself from the situation before I got in even deeper. And that was the first time that I really, really partnered with someone on that level, and it's my fault. I don't want to play the blame game, but I should have done my due diligence. I just took someone else's word for it, and I went with them. And I brought more to the table than they brought, and financially, it messed me up. And I think also, like, I couldn't understand how someone could be so evil or, like, have such bad intentions when we were trying to do something good for children. I just took a step back. So I just got low. I was finishing my master's degree. Like, I wanted to make sure I graduated, like, with a A or A minus. And I was like, I have given so much to myself for like 8 years. I mean, I've given so much to my community for like 8 years. It's time to do something for myself. And all those 8 years, I did nothing for myself. So I was just to myself. And then my mom ended up getting sick. So I was taking care of her for a while. And then she passed away. And I think that during that time, people, they made up a whole bunch of rumors. They were like, she got kicked out of her nonprofit. Like, I don't know how you get kicked out of your own nonprofit. I mean, I guess if your board, like, overrides you, but they don't know how my nonprofit is set up. So it was all these rumors going around. And I didn't see people for, like, 10 months. No, it was more than 10 months, like 2 years. And then, like, I started, like, going outside, like, to places like a pizza shop or like to church, and the first thing people would say to me is, are you having camp this summer? And I'm just thinking in my head, like, my mom just died. And the first thing people are asking me is if I'm having camp. And when I was deep in my nonprofit and I was having programming, I thought that God wanted me to be in this position so that I could provide resources and opportunities for other people. I don't know exactly what God wanted me to do, but that's not what he wants me to do right now. I think that it was all a learning lesson, and I don't take any of it for granted. There's nothing that I would want to do differently, because every lesson that I had, I needed to learn, and I needed to learn at the time that I did. But I'm good. Like, I'm like drained. I'm literally just now like getting better from healing, or starting to heal from the death of my mom. And people are like, so are you gonna have camp? And everyone's like, you should have camp. And I want to say, you should do a camp. You know, like, I don't think people know what it takes to run a program. I think that I've done it so effortlessly. Like, I haven't complained. I don't really ask for help, and I just get things done. But it's not a good feeling when it seems like people just always want something out of you. And for me now, I'm in a season of healing, and I'm healing out loud. I think that's another reason why the podcast has launched when it launched, because I want to share a different side of me. I think that I've always been able to be myself, but in the same token, I don't want to say that I had to like dim my light a little bit, but like, I felt like I had to sort of conform to different situations. So like, I'm in the room with all these politicians. I'm in the room with heads of departments. I'm in the room with all these CEOs. I've always been myself, but like, I just felt like I've always had to dim myself a little bit. And I think that I've also matured in the way that I express myself now, because I used to be a hothead. Like, I used to be in meetings, and then like I wasn't a hothead. I was emotionally driven. So I was so about the mission of my organization and connected to ensuring that Black and brown kids had the resources that they need, that I wore that on my sleeves, and that's how I portrayed myself when I was communicating in meetings. So now that I have had the experience of being in different rooms, working in corporate settings, and just having like a more diverse background, I wouldn't show up the way that I did. But I think that now, given all of my experiences, I only want to be in spaces where I can 150% unapologetically be me. Like, there's no dimming my light. There's no, I need to censor myself. There's like, I want to be able to show up and express myself. I don't want to have to always feel like that strong Black woman. I don't want to always have the answers to everyone's questions. I don't want to always solve problems. I want to sit in this healing stage that I'm in, and I want to embrace it with others. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now. I started a series called Yoga in the Park, where it's about 25 to 34 people each Sunday, and we get together and we have free yoga sessions at various parks throughout Poughkeepsie. Because when I spent some time in New York City last year, the city council people, they do different yoga in the parks for free, like on different days. And it's been such a nice journey. And so many people who know me from the nonprofit sphere, they're like, I'm so happy to see this version of you, to see this side of you. So instead of like being that person who's just like strong, gun-ho, fighting for the community, I'm just taking some time to really focus on me. Like I said, I always want to journey. I put that on hold so that I could be full-fledged with my nonprofit. I remember I was in law school. I went for a year, and I had like a whole bunch of family stuff going on. I ended up coming back home. But when I was in law school, I was like, I just want to get back to my community and just give back to my community. And like I said, I think that's what God was calling me to do at that time. But now God is calling me to do something different. So here I am with the Strategy is Her podcast. And each week we'll be tapping into different aspects of my healing journey, different aspects of my health journey, because I've gone through being anemic and still showing up full-fledged for the community no matter how I felt. Like I said, I'm here today. But yeah, stay tuned for next week's episode.